Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. This morning, there are rumblings that on September the 15th, 154-pound champion Saul Canelo Alvarez is going to defend his title against Paul the Punisher Williams. Boxing sites are abuzz with the news. As I make this video, the fighters themselves haven't appeared at a press conference to formally announce the matchup. Right now, what we have are hints from insiders like Golden Boy's Richard Schaefer that the fight is going to happen. I believe the fight is a mismatch. I believe that Saul Alvarez is going to win this fight, and he's going to do it dramatically. What I would encourage people to do is to look at two fights. The first is Sergio Martinez's rematch with Paul Williams. What you'll see is that Martinez, in the second round of that fight, literally frames a left hook. He keeps his feet, in a stance that would allow him to throw that left hook. And you'll actually notice in, let's say, the 2 seconds before he throws that left hook, Martinez conscientiously keeps his feet together, right? He isn't fluid. He literally keeps his feet together, planning to throw this left hook. When he does, he knocks Williams out in one of the scarier knockouts I've seen. Williams actually hits the canvas with his eyes open, completely unconscious. The point about Martinez's feet is that it's clear that as Williams, a high-volume fighter, came forward, Martinez knew that Williams was going to drop his right hand, leaving the right side of his face open to Martinez's left hook. Martinez knew it. He knew Williams was that defensively deficient. And keep in mind, it's a bit stunning because Martinez is a southpaw. That left hand is actually Martinez's dominant hand, right? It would be as if you were fighting Vladimir Klitschko and you left yourself open to Vladimir Klitschko's straight right hand, right? Paul Williams left the window open for Sergio Martinez's dominant hand, and Martinez, knowing he was going to leave that window open, literally frames it. As Williams comes forward, Martinez knows this punch is going to be available. The next fight I want you to see is Canelo, Saul Alvarez, against Carlos Baldomir. Now understand, going into this fight, Carlos Baldomir was known for his granite chin, right? I'm not saying his chin was perfect, but Baldomir had been hit on the button several times and went nowhere. And he fought big hitters. He fought Zab Judah, for example, went the distance, right? Against Canelo, he wasn't that fortunate. And the punch that Canelo starches him with is the same left hook that Sergio Martinez starched Paul Williams with. And what you'll notice is that Canelo's left hook is a showstopper. It's one of the sport's best punches, and I mean any punch from any boxer. Canelo's left hook is a sleep inducer. If you're fighting Canelo, that left hook is so potent, your right hand, even if you're right-handed, always has to be around the side of your face because you can't risk opening that window. If you do, and Canelo throws that left hook, you're finished. right? Your life's not going to be the same. If you're not knocked out like Carlos Baldomir was, and Baldomir, if you look at the film, is out before he hits the canvas. If you're not knocked out, you're going to be so slowed up that there's no way you're going to be able to, continue to fight as you were before that punch landed. Now understand, Canelo fights out of an orthodox stance. His left hook is actually shorter than Sergio Martinez's left hook, because Canelo's left hook is his punch right up front. Right? And so all I'm saying is this. You have Canelo fighting Paul Williams, who gives up his height. The last time I saw Paul Williams actually fight long was his fight against Antonio Margarito. Somehow, some way, someone convinced Paul Williams that he is a slugger and not a boxer. Right? Paul Williams' attempt to be a slugger, attempt to come in and just beat you up, as opposed to fight from distance behind a jab using movement, has cost Williams dearly. His fight game has literally deteriorated. Right? And so I expect Williams, just like he was against Sergio Martinez, who's roughly the same height as Saul Alvarez, just like Williams's chin, right? Just like the right side of Williams's face was available to Sergio Martinez, I'm expecting the right side of Williams's face to be available to Saul Alvarez. And understand, Alvarez hits hard, right? If Alvarez lands just two solid left hooks over the course of a 12-round fight, and pay attention to the distance, make sure the fight is 12 rounds, right? These two fighters could elect to fight at a catch weight to not put any of the titles up, at risk. They could elect to make it a 10-round fight. If it's a 12-round fight, the longer the fight goes, and I know this is counterintuitive, that favors Canelo, because he's going to be the hunter hunting down Paul Williams. If Canelo lands just two left hooks flush over the course of the 12 rounds, I think Paul Williams gets knocked out, right? Let me go one step further. You saw Canelo against Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley is much shorter than Paul Williams. Canelo is a devastating body puncher. Devastating. You saw him hit Shane Mosley several times to the body. Slowed up Mosley tremendously. I was surprised Mosley didn't go down from some of the body shots. Well, Paul Williams is taller than Shane Mosley. He has a longer body. There's more to hit, right? If a Mike Tyson were to fight a tall, lanky guy like Paul Williams, Prime Tyson would actually get low and understand what getting low allows you to do, right? If you get low, that forces Paul Williams to have to bend down to reach for you. And as he's bending down to reach for you, that makes both his chin more available to you, right? And that also just gives you the opportunity, if you want, to come up with what Tyson used to throw, a great uppercut, right? Williams can be hit with uppercuts. Williams can be hit with left hooks. Williams can be hit with body punches. The only primetime fighter, and by primetime I mean on TV, in very high-profile fights, the only primetime fighter I can think of with defense as bad as Paul Williams is, in my opinion, is James Kirkland. right? Williams' defense really is that bad. Williams fought Ishida. I know Williams won that fight. Understand that Ishida doesn't hit hard enough to break glass. I know Ishida knocked out James Kirkland. Before that fight, Ishida had a very low knockout ratio. Since that fight, I don't believe Ishida has knocked anyone out, right? Ishida hit Williams flush in that fight with several good punches. It didn't knock Williams out because, of course, Ishida doesn't get the leverage a knockout puncher gets. Make no mistake about it, Saul Alvarez is a knockout puncher. Don't be fooled by the fact that Shane Mosley went the distance with him, because while Mosley has been knocked down in a couple of fights, Vernon Forrest knocked him down, Manny Pacquiao knocked him down, Shane Mosley in his entire career has never been stopped, right? Saul Alvarez, as the Ryan Rhodes fan club knows, is such a devastating body puncher that he's one of those rare punchers who could drop you off body shots or beat you up so bad to the body that when you start the fight at 100 miles an hour, by the 9th round, you're going about 20 miles an hour, and it's target practice for Canelo. I'm expecting a stoppage in this fight. The way I would play it would be to bet Canelo to win, and I would straddle it with Canelo by knockout, right? Just so I have a little bit extra if Canelo gets the knockout. Right? Understand, too, you shouldn't be fooled by the presumed size difference. You know, there might be a height difference, but there isn't a weight difference. Understand, Saul Alvarez, for the Shane Mosley fight, weighed 167 pounds the night of the fight. Right? Saul Alvarez really belongs not in the super welter junior middleweight division. He belongs in the super middleweight division, right? Canelo on fight night weighs around what Andre Ward and Carl Froch weigh, right? He's just a tad less than light heavy. And so don't be fooled by the height difference. There really isn't a mass difference, a size difference in this fight. And let me also say, too, that Paul Williams hasn't made the adjustments. In other words, he got hit with left hooks by Saul Alvarez, by Sergio Martinez. He got hit with left hooks by Ishida, right? He is a pattern fighter. He's not adaptive, reactive. Don't confuse him with someone like Floyd Mayweather, who, based on what his opponent does early, Mayweather makes adjustments so that that punch or that style won't be effective against Floyd Mayweather later in that fight. With Paul Williams, it's the opposite. The mistakes Paul Williams makes in the first round are the mistakes he makes in the 5th round, the 10th round, and the 12th round. Right? Some guys view boxing as, a pattern that they do every fight. They don't make adjustments for their opponents. Paul Williams is the poster child for that. Let's talk about Erislandy Lara. Now, many people online were a little bit taken back when I picked Paul Williams over Erislandy Lara, and then after the fight, said that the decision in the fight, Williams won that fight by decision, was plausible. Right? Now, people were taken back. They said, hey, look at Lara's effective counterpunching. Right? Well, let me just say, Lara's effective counterpunching is further proof that Williams doesn't make adjustments. That the counters that work early are the counters that work late against him. Right? But more importantly, Lara had a problem that Saul Alvarez doesn't have, right? Lara is so low volume. In fact, let me just say, this seems to be a problem with the approach taken by some of the Cuban amateur fighters, because Guillermo Rigondeaux has the same problem. Lara is an excellent counterpuncher, but he's so low volume that against a volume pattern fighter like Williams, he can get outworked over 12 rounds, right? If you look at the CompuBox numbers for that Williams-Lara fight, you're going to see that while Lara landed the much higher percentage, right, Williams threw the greater volume of punches. I'm not saying those punches landed. What I am saying, though, is it created an optical illusion for the judges of a taller man beating up a lower volume, shorter fighter. I don't believe you're going to have that problem here, because Saul Alvarez, number one, hit so much harder than Erislandy Lara that if he lands as many clean shots as Lara landed in that fight, this fight's not going the distance, right? Number two, I think that Canelo is adaptive reactive. I believe that he is going to come out and he's going to figure out relatively early on how to get inside on Paul Williams. Canelo actually does some pretty good head fakes, right? I believe Canelo's going to figure out how to get inside on Paul Williams, how to cut off the ring, how to force Williams to actually back up, right? Let me add one caveat. The Paul Williams who fought Antonio Margarito would have a chance. That was Williams on his back foot, right? Throwing volume, dancing around the ring, hiding behind a jab, right? If you have access to live betting, and if Williams comes out in this fight and actually starts moving, and actually starts looking like he did against Margarito, and he hasn't looked that way since, then with a live betting opportunity, I might put something on Williams by decision, right? But I don't think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is Williams is going to come out just like he did against Sergio Martinez in both fights, and I think Williams is going to think that because he's the taller man, he's the hunter in the fight. I believe he's going to fight on his front foot, not his back foot, and I believe that's going to get him knocked out. I like Canelo in this fight. I think the fight is a mismatch. I think Canelo's left hook and body shots rule the day. I think if Canelo can come out and fight low, just bend at the waist a little bit, and he did some of that against Shane Mosley, I think it'll make it an easier night for him. I like Saul Alvarez in this one. My assumption is that the fight's at 154. If the fight's at 160, where Canelo hasn't fought at an official weigh-in, right? If the fight's at 160, then I'll have to make a different video. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.